The winds of Mesopotamia sweep across the ruins of Babylon, carrying with them the whispers of forgotten rulers. Stones lie broken where once great ziggurats touched the sky. The Euphrates flows as it always has, a silent witness to empires that rose and fell like shifting sands. Hidden within these ruins is the memory of a queen, a woman whose wisdom outshone the brutality of her age. Her name was Nitocris, the Queen of Babylon. Now, you've probably heard of Cleopatra of Egypt, or maybe even the legendary Semiramis, but Nitocris, she's been all but erased by time. Ancient historians like Herodotus wrote only fragments of her story, yet those fragments speak of a mind so brilliant, so cunning, it secured a reign of rare stability in a world constantly torn apart by war. She wasn't remembered for scandal or conquest. She was remembered for her intelligence. Nitocris came to power at a critical moment. Babylon stood at the crossroads of the ancient world. The mighty Assyrian Empire had crumbled, Egypt was plotting in the shadows, and the Persian Empire was just beginning its rise. Babylon itself was vulnerable, a rich prize surrounded by enemies who coveted its wealth. And yet, under Nitocris, it did not fall. Instead, she fortified it, leaving behind engineering marvels so brilliant that even Herodotus, writing centuries later, was in awe of her wisdom. She saw what her male predecessors had missed. Armies win battles, but walls and rivers win survival. Nitocris completely reshaped the course of the Euphrates River, digging canals and fortifying its banks, making it nearly impossible for invaders to breach her capital. She built a labyrinth of defenses, using the river itself as both a lifeline and a shield. Suddenly, marching on Babylon was no longer a simple siege. It became a treacherous puzzle of mud, stone, and shifting waters that could swallow entire armies. It was genius. But her wisdom wasn't limited to stone and water. Nitocris understood politics like few rulers did. She knew Babylon was the jewel that every empire desired. So, to keep it safe, she played a game of patience and subtlety. She threw open the city's gates to trade, turning potential enemies into business partners. Caravans from the east brought silks and spices, while merchants from the west carried tin and copper. By enriching Babylon through peace, she made war against her an incredibly costly proposition for anyone. She was a master diplomat, turning the world's greed into her city's greatest defense. But don't mistake her for a pacifist queen. The records tell us that Nitocris prepared for war with the mind of a true strategist. One incredible tale from Herodotus speaks of how she built a false tomb high above one of the main gates of the city, a clever trap for any greedy kings who might one day conquer Babylon. Inside, she allegedly left treasures vast enough to tempt any invader. But she also left a cruel message carved in stone for whoever dared to open it, a warning that to take from Babylon was to forfeit your life. It was a psychological masterstroke, a final act of defiance that would echo long after she was gone. Her reign was remembered not for bloodshed, but for wisdom. In an age where women were often cast aside as mere ornaments of the court, Nitocris stood as Babylon's protector. She proved that a queen could be not only a ruler, but an engineer, a diplomat, and a strategist, all in one. But history isn't always kind to those who build with wisdom instead of spectacle. Great warriors are remembered for their epic battles, even when their empires collapse into fire and ash. Queens like Nitocris, who built stability and security, are often remembered only faintly, like shadows on crumbling walls. Eventually, the Persians would come. The rivers would shift, and Babylon would fall. And with its fall, her story was largely buried. Yet, even the silence speaks volumes. The few lines that survive about her mark her as fundamentally different from the rulers of her age. Where others chased glory, she chose endurance. Where others sought to expand their empire, she sought to preserve her home. And perhaps that is why her name hasn't echoed through the centuries as loudly as those who burned their kingdoms for fame. But just for a moment, imagine her city as it once was. The great Ishtar Gate, blazing with brilliant blue tiles, the legendary hanging gardens, rising in terraces of vibrant green, the mighty Euphrates, flowing through canals she designed with her own hand. Within those walls, Babylon thrived, not in chaos, but in order. That was her gift, her legacy. A city protected not just by brick and mortar, but by foresight. Nitocris was more than just a forgotten queen. She is a lesson hidden in the pages of history, that true power isn't always the roar of battle, but often the quiet strength of a brilliant mind. She proved that wisdom could rule an empire just as surely as swords and armies. And though time has tried to erase her, the ruins of Babylon still carry her story. For in every stone that still resists the wind, in every channel once cut by the Euphrates, there remains the mark of the queen who was wise. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed uncovering this hidden history, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of the forgotten figures who shaped our world. See you next time.